I never wanted to be a hairdresser. I left school in 1964. There you are, that's giving you an idea of how old I am. Wanting to be a film or television director. In Australia in 1964, there wasn't anything going on much in the way of film or television. But my father and mother were both hairdressers, and my dad said, right, I can give you a trade, and you go anywhere then. It's true. Best thing he ever did, smartest thing I ever did was to say yes. But after the day after I finished my apprenticeship...
Okay, so about now it's best I condense all that background to tell you that after I completed my hair design training, I did go into media. Radio first, then TV, on camera, and then in production behind the camera with my own company. All this while still hairdressing and building 13 salons, most of my family, in 12 years. Altogether, I've established and operated 26 salons and trained hundreds of hair designers. Not only in hair design, but in personal customer service, probably the most important part of the industry. And that's over a period of 52 years. This career combination has given me a unique set of skills that I can use to help people understand just how important customer service is, especially in the personal services.
The opportunity to make those changes. But the one thing, even now, when people say to me, God, 52 years, why are you still doing it? Well, to be honest with you, this arm has nearly given up. You stand in this stupid, odd way in hairdressing, you know, and every profession has a similar one. My son has a bad wrist. No, I've asked hairdressers, what's your job? They say, to do really lovely hairdos. No, it's not. It's to make people feel good. And that's what you do too. No matter what their situation is, if you don't do your job properly, they're not going to feel good, are they? But if they're feeling good, whatever you've done for them, boy, they're up the top. I used to have a client years ago who used to always make her appointment with me after she'd been to a doctor. Simple reason. She said, you make me feel better than he does. There are a list of people who are physically allowed to touch you. You think about it. If your plumber came up to you and he's fixing your taps, he said, love, look here. He said, I'm a bit worried about the U-bend under the bottom there. And you know, he's putting his hand on your shoulder. You'd probably go, wouldn't you? Or your mechanic. Hairdressing, we can do it. Doctors, dentists, beauticians, hookers. Yeah, everybody in those personal industries. The challenge is to make every single contact you make with a prospective client count. Humans are funny cattle. They've got all these preconceptions, they've got all these phobias. As I said before, there's all the conditioning that's gone into place where they just say, it's a good way out actually. You'll find a lot of adults use it. When the kids come to you and say, Dad, can I do this? First thing you'll generally probably do is say no and then think about it. In my case, it was I'd say no and they go to Mum and she'd say, talk to your father. What's the difference between an amateur and a professional? Right? I have a very different, what do you say, expertise, right? My definition is a bit closer to yours. An amateur practices until he gets it right. A professional practices until he doesn't get it wrong. And you all understand that very subtle but very important difference? The amateur is just getting it so it's right. A professional is sitting there and working out, if I do that, if this goes wrong, can I still solve it? And that's the difference. It's like me when I cook. I love to cook. And I toss it in and have a ball. My curries are amazing. But if you ask me what goes in them and how much, wouldn't have a clue. I believe a lot of you will come into the salon and say, I just want trim, thank you. There's a reason why you say that, isn't there? What is it?
She just don't know what else to ask for.
Exactly. But also?
Same. Minimal.
Minimal, yes. Anything else?
No, I go in and say do whatever you like.
Oh, what a wonderful... Oh, I love a client like that. And when my clients say that to me, I say, where were you when I was 20?
Because you don't want to change. It's the same.
Yeah? No, I think the reason why people say I'll just have a trim is simply because they're a bit scared about what the hairdresser's going to do. Because we've all heard horror stories. What we've got to do now, of course, apart from just telling a client, we are instead going to adopt the next part of the story, which is, no, we can't do that, however. So we can't close the door. So we've got to start learning however. And this is the most important thing. It's the same with kids, really. When you're trying to, no, you can't have that. However, if you're a good boy, I'll give you a little bit of it after you eat your dinner. Sales is sales. Why are people so scared of sales? What's the connotation of a salesman in your mind?
Trying to sell you something that maybe you don't want.
Aha, pushy.
Yes. Oh, go away.
Like,
oh, yes,
g'day, how are you, love? Jeez, have I got a deal for you today? You are gonna buy. That's the one you really love, isn't it? I can tell as soon as you go up close. Everything else. Now, we just said you are unfortunately in the business of sales. I came up with this thing years ago, and I keep adding to it. Respect. I didn't come up with respect. I wish I had. That's a great one. Respect is what's missing nowadays in many things, isn't it? I mean, trashing things, graffitiing stuff, the way people talk to old people, that sort of stuff. You know, to me, that's a pity, because respect really gets lost. And somewhere along the line years ago, I said to myself, you can sum up the whole business of the first contact with a client with that respect thing. So what I'm going to do, we're going to break for a little minute and give you a chance to stretch your legs, but we're going to go through respect first, then we'll talk about it when you come back. Respect means, the very first thing you do on first contact is recognise the client. Whether they walk in and you go, hello, how are you? And even if you're flat out busy, I won't be a moment. Right? Always, instantly recognise the client on the phone. Even if you've got 10 phone calls lined up. Oh God, the place is a madhouse here, but I want to talk to you. So would you just hold for 5 seconds, please? I'll promise I'll be right back. Nobody minds if you say that, but as soon as somebody rings and you get on and you hear, hold the line, please, that's not good. You at least got to say, Bromilow so-and-so calling. Would you mind holding the line? Most people will go along with you for a while. Don't leave them there too long. Engage personally, then professionally evaluate the client's inquiry. Right? Know what I mean by all that? You're listening. Communication. Everything comes down to communication. Size up the situation. So you're getting all this information, you've engaged the client, the situation, what's going on? All going on in the background. Smile on the phone too. Open. Yeah, because if you're interested in your clients, and I get lost with mine because, God, they travel. Yeah. Yeesh. They're all over the place. And I just say, have you just come back from somewhere? Or were you going? Oh, yes, we just came back from Ireland. Oh, no, great. How was it? Good. People like that. They love that you're interested in them. You might not be interested, but you should be interested. It's not hard to be interested in somebody spending millions of dollars travelling around. Communication causes more problems in families, I think, than it ever does in businesses sometimes, doesn't it? And I mean, I know you guys will have heard a whole lot of them. You know, there's always somebody, and the reason why, and it always ends up that way, the reason why it's all fallen apart because nobody bothered to talk to everybody. I've got an unusual family. We were in family business partnership, 6 of us. We built 13 salons in 12 years all over Queensland. And, you know, we'd have arguments, disagreements, but there was a vote at the end of it, the democratic vote. That's it. If you lost, you lost. The odd part was it was never couples against couples. No, my wife would never side with me. It'd be my dad and I against the rest of them most of the time because we're the noisy ones, you know. But the others would dig their heels in, the quiet ones. The thing was, we talked about it, and if there was ever a problem, it was always discussed. And no good getting your nose out of joint. You didn't win that one, so what? In communication in families, it's generally about that, you know, some stupid thing that happened 40 years ago. if somebody's coming up to you and you are representing Bromilow, do you look like you know what you're doing? So if you aren't looking reasonably professional, and by that I mean hair and your outfit, and you don't have to wear makeup, but you can have clean skin, and same as hair. We have the default long hair pulled back. That's laziness, girls. I hate to tell you. That's all it bloody well is. In a lot of things when we're dealing with people, we don't always start off by being confident. And have any of you had, moments of confident crisis? Can you? Yeah? All of you? Oh, good. Because it's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't ever admit it. Confidence, I believe confidence comes with a knowledge of yourself, and if you are in a business situation, of your product or your service, whatever it is you're providing. It's a really interesting thing, because with confidence sometimes you get nervousness. As I said before, I've done a lot of stuff on stage since I was 10. And I don't get nervous going on stage unless I'm not sure of whether I've learnt all my lines. By God, then I can get nervous. But something really weird, and I was only telling another actor this the other day. I've done a lot of musicals. And you're talking away and then you burst into bloody song and whatever it is. Every so often the people that are producing these things say to you, look, there's a Rotary Club and they'd really like a couple of people to go along and sing some songs from the musical you're going to be doing. So would you and so mind going along and having dinner with them and then singing a song? Yeah, okay, fine, fair enough. That is the single hardest thing for me to do. As a character on stage, I can burst into song confidently and won't even be nervous. But, oh my God, I tell you what, just standing up on a stage, flat singing, I forget the lines, I do everything. It is really weird. But it's out of context, you see, because on stage, it's not Errol singing, it's the character. And I've been hiding behind characters all my life, so it's good fun, wonderful. So, confidence is very, very important. So know your subject matter, know the answers to the most common questions, and by now you know the most common questions. So get the information. If you feel you need training, get the training. That's what his job is, to make sure you're all boom, boom, boom. Well, it is now. When somebody comes to this business, they're outside, in the air. Have they been recommended by somebody? Have they seen an ad? You do some advertising, marketing. The website, they may have Googled home care services. Boom, up you pop. So, in their head, they open an account. And in that account is a whacking great big beam balance. You know what a beam balance is? In chemistry, used to weigh things out. It's just like an old scales. The old scales of justice? Right, so they've got one of these in their head. So every positive thing that happens to them in association with Bromilow goes on the positive side of the scale. Every negative thing that happens goes on the negative side. So the first thing is, the website, does it serve their purposes? I make an initial contact, be it by phone or in person. Was that a comfortable experience? Did I get some information? Boom, yeah, it was pretty good, but she didn't smile. Negative, boom. It goes right through the whole thing. You engage the services of Bromilow, ba-boom, ba-boom. Somebody comes out, looks after Dad. Dad's absolutely over the moon. Boom, big plus. At the end of it all, when they've paid their money and all that sort of thing, they then sit back and look at that profit and loss account, that beam balance in their head, and if there's more positives than there are negatives, they will say, I've got a good deal. And that's the thing they want. But if it's the other way around, I've been ripped off. Well, the very first thing I ever say when somebody comes, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. I think I'm sorry about that. It's interesting how words change, but I always say, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. And how are you going? And I come back because we get back to the you thing, which is the most important thing. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that. How are you going? And did you hear a subtle change in my voice?
So that gives you a bit of an idea of what Errol R J Morrison's all about and what I could hopefully do for your business and for your staff, your management, anybody who needs to know a little bit more about how to communicate, how to look after people.
Anything else you want to ask apart from my couture? My coiffure? The grey is all natural. Every hair is an experience. Every grey hair, that is. The bits that are missing, they were bad experiences.